grade 8 students. Welcome to the week 4 of your modular distance learning in Mathematics 8. Again, I am Sir Arjel Landicho and I am here to help you in answering your modules. Let's start. So for this week, you will be introduced with a very necessary topic, and this is somewhat a foundation in algebra, and that's the rectangular coordinate system. So let's start with the definition of the rectangular coordinate system. So rectangular coordinate system refers to the system or to a system that is used in graphing number pairs. It is composed of two intersecting number lines. Okay, so there are two lines intersecting with each other and which are also perpendicular to each other at the point 0. Every point is unique, containing the x and the y coordinates. So later on, we will be going with that parts deeply. Rectangular coordinate system is also sometimes referred to as Cartesian coordinate plane or the Cartesian plane, simply the Cartesian plane. Okay, so and this is why that is referred to as the Cartesian plane or Cartesian coordinate plane, because of René Descartes. So how do you pronounce it? Again, you pronounce it as René Descartes. So René Descartes is a French mathematician and philosopher who discovered the use of rectangular coordinate system in mathematics. This is somehow a very helpful topic in understanding deeper or higher mathematics. So it is important for you to understand this thoroughly. Okay, so now let's go with the parts of the rectangular coordinate system. So as you can see, the white picture here, it shows the rectangular coordinate system. And after going with the parts of it, you will be introduced with the ways on how to plot points on the Cartesian plane, simply on how to use the rectangular coordinate system or the Cartesian plane. So the first part is the axis or axis in plural. So singular axis, plural axis. So the axis refer to the two intersecting number lines that are perpendicular to each other in the Cartesian plane. These are the x and the y axis. Okay, so when you were in grade 7, you were taught of the idea of number lines. So there are vertical number lines and horizontal number lines. Now, with rectangular coordinate system, you will be introduced with two intersecting number lines, and that's coordinate system, and we will be calling it axis. Okay, so always remember that this one, okay, wait lang. Yeah, or the horizontal line is what we call the x-axis. Okay? So, yung linyang pahiga or the number line na nakahiga ay ang tinatawag nating, okay? Tinatawag natin siyang x-axis. While this one, ito naman, yung linyang nakatayo or yung number line that is vertical is what we call the y-axis. Okay? Always remember that. The horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line is the y-axis. Next. Okay, let's go with origin, the second part of the Cartesian coordinate system. So when we say origin, it refers to the point of intersection of x and y axis. Okay, so at point 0, 0. Okay, so origin is the point where the x and the y axis meets. Okay, or meet. Okay? Ito po, this is the point where everything starts. Ito po yung point na yan. Okay? So, at that point, so the point is 0, 0. 0 ang value ng x, 0 ang value ng y. Later on, you will be able to understand that. Let's go with the third, which is the quadrant. Okay, or so the quadrants. So, quadrants refer to the regions that divide the plane or the whole Cartesian plane into 4 equal parts. Okay? So, ang sabi, quadrant refers to the 4 equal parts that divides the plane. Okay? So, ito po yun. Ito po yung region 1. And then, ito yung sunod. And then, next one is this. And then, the last one will be this one. Okay, so how do we call it? So, collectively, we call it, or we call them quadrants. But how do we identify the quadrant? So, there are 4 quadrants, namely, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, you write it in numerals, Roman numerals, sorry. And then this is quadrant 3. And then this is quadrant 4. Again, how many quadrants do we have? We have 4 quadrants. We have the quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then the 4th quadrant. Okay, so let me just erase this. Okay. Now, with that idea, I want you to look at the points with each quadrant. Let's go focus first on the quadrant 1. So, looking at the points, ito po yung points na yon. So, x-axis ito, and then sa y-axis ito. Can you see a negative number in the x-axis? There is no negative number in the x-axis of quadrant 1. How about in the y-axis? There is no negative number in the y-axis of quadrant 1. Therefore, you always remember that in quadrant 1, the points are always both positive. The x and the y value of the coordinates in the quadrant 1 are always positive. They are both positive. Next, let's go with the quadrant 2. So take a look at the x-axis. So what numbers do you see in the number line? So obviously you are seeing negative numbers. So the x is, or the x values are negative. How about the y values? Still, yung pa rin nasa taas, they are all positive. So meaning, alright, so meaning in quadrant 2, the points are negative and positive. They are not both negative, they are not both positive, but the x is negative and the y is positive. Okay, so let's go with the quadrant 3. So in quadrant 3, take a look at the x-axis and then the y-axis. In the x-axis, nagamit na natin kanina, it's negative, or the values of x in the third quadrant are negative. While, how about the y-axis or the y-axis? The y-axis consists of negative numbers. So, meaning, okay, meaning the values of the coordinates in the third quadrant are negative and positive. The x is negative and then the y is also negative. Sorry. Let me correct that. Okay, so in the third quadrant, both negative. Okay, always remember that in the third quadrant, the values of x and the values of y are both negative. Now, let's go with the fourth quadrant. In the fourth quadrant, looking at the values of x, they are all positive. And looking at the values of y, they are all negative. So, summary, the quadrant 4 consists of positive x values and negative x values. Again, I will repeat for you to understand and for you to memorize it. Always remember that a Cartesian plane has 4 quadrants. Okay, plane. The Cartesian plane has 4 quadrants, which divide it, which divides the Cartesian plane. The quadrant 1, quadrant 2, and the quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. So in quadrant 1, looking at the values of x and the y, they are both positive. In quadrant 2, the values of x are negative and the values of y are positive. In quadrant 3, the values of x are negative and the values of y are also negative. And then, in quadrant 4, the values of x are positive and the values of y are negative. Okay, let's go with the next one. Points. So, ito ay kanina ko pang nababanggit. Points in the Cartesian plane are labeled with the ordered pair x and y. Always remember this type of writing in mathematics. When you write an ordered pair, you always enclose it with parentheses. And then, inside of it, you write the x value, comma, the y value. That is how you write or represent a point in a Cartesian plane. The x value and then the y value separated by a comma and closed by parentheses. Okay? So that's how you write a point. Next, coordinates. So coordinates of the point refer to the ordered pairs that represent a point. So let's say for example this one. So later on, you will be able to understand what am I talking about in plotting. So the yellow point here represents, okay, the coordinates 1 and 1. Because the value of x is 1 and then the value of y is also 1. So this point or the coordinates of this point is or are 1 and 1. The value of x is 1 and the value of y is 1. Take a look at how I write the point. Okay? Next is the abscissa. Abscissa refers to the x-coordinate, or it refers to the distance from the point of origin that is measured along the x-axis. Abscissa is the x value in the ordered pair. Again, we are talking about the ordered pair. So I have here the ordered pair 1. So let me change. 1 and 2. Okay, so ito po yung point na yon, 1 and 2. So this is the point. This point, okay, is represented by this point represents the coordinates 1 and 2. So, the abscissa here in this ordered pairs or coordinates is 1 because that's the x coordinate. Again, when we say abscissa, it's the x coordinate. What about the y-coordinate? It's the ordinate. Okay, that's different from coordinate. Okay, so let's go back again with my example. This point again represents the point 1 and 2. So the ordered pair is 1 and 2. Again, I told you earlier that in this coordinates of ordered pair, 1 is the abscissa, while 2 is the y-coordinate. So how do we call it? It's ordinate. Again, 1 abscissa, 2 ordinate. So let's have an example. So we have here point A 5 and 9, point B -2 and 1, and then point C 6 and -3. So let's take a look at the definition or the description. Points A, B, and C are points with coordinates, okay? They are all points with coordinates. So the 5, -2, and 6 are the abscissas, okay, of each point. So we have 5, -2, and 6. Those three numbers are the abscissas. Bakit sila abscissa kung tawagin? Kasi sila yung x-coordinate. While 9, 1, and -3 are the ordinates. So 9, 1, and -3 ordinates. Bakit sila ordinates? Kasi po, sila po ang y-coordinates. Thus, in point x and y, x is the abscissa and y is the ordinate. Okay? Now, let's go with plotting points on Cartesian plane. So how do we plot points on Cartesian plane? How do we represent an ordered pair with a point on the plane? Here are the steps. I'll teach you how. Okay, so sa madaling sabi, we have an example yung kanina. Point A, point B, and point C with ordered pairs 5 and 9, -2 and 1, 6 and -3 respectively. Let's go first with point A and then we will represent it with color yellow. So always remember A is yellow. Okay, so how do we plot this point? So always remember in plotting points in a Cartesian plane, you always go first or you always look first for the abscissa or the x-coordinate. What's the x-coordinate here? 5. So you look first at 5. Nasaan ba yung 5? Sa taas, sa baba, sa kaliwa o sa kanan? Saan ba ako titingin? Doon sa pahiga ba o sa patayo? Since ang sabi ko, abscissa yon, x-coordinate, alin ba ang x-axis? Yung nakahiga. So, doon ako titingin. 5, positive ba siya or negative? Positive po. So, dito po ako titingin sa positive. Okay, so, you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Ito na yon. Now, hindi yan yon. Kasi may kasama siyang point na y, which is 9. Okay, so again, nag-move ako ng 5 sa pahiga. Now, ang hinahanap ko naman ay y-coordinate or yung ordinate na 9. Positive siya. Pataas ba ako or pababa? Pataas po kasi po positive po siya. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. And then you write the point. So, this is point A. Okay, now let's go with point B and I will represent it with blue. Okay, so point B is negative 2, 1. So the ordered pairs of point B is negative 2, 1. So again, ano nga po ulit ang unang titingnan? Ang una pong titingnan ay yung tinatawag nating abscissa of the coordinates, which is the x-coordinate, negative 2. So, ang x-axis ba ay yung nakahiga o nakatayo? Again, ito po yung nakahiga. So, doon ako titingin sa x values or sa values na nasa nakahigang linya. Okay, so mula sa origin, negative 2, pakanan o pakaliwa? So, syempre, pakaliwa. Ano po? So, ito yon, negative 2. And then, move ako ng negative 2. Okay, the next one. 1 po ay y. Ito po ay ordinate, y-axis. Sa taas ba o sa baba? Positive ba o negative? Positive. So, sa taas po siya. Ito po yun. So, this is my point. This is point B. Okay, let's go with point C and I will represent it with color red. Okay. So, point C has the coordinates 6 and negative 3. Now, saan ako unang titingin? X values. Ano ba yung X value dito? 6. So, mula sa origin, move ako ng 6. Pakanan, pakaliwa. Pakanan, kasi po yung kanan po yung positive. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Stop na ba ako? Hindi pa po, kasi po meron po akong negative 3. Negative 3 ba ay baba, or taas, or baba? Negative, since baba po siya. Okay, since negative, baba po siya. 1, 2, and then 3. So, ito po yung point C. C. So, that is how you represent or plot a point of an ordered pair in the Cartesian plane. Okay, now, let's go with the second part of this lesson, which is the slope. Okay, so what is a slope? So, slope. When we say slope, we actually mean the steepness of a line. Okay, so yeah, this one. Steepness of a line. And it can be actually measured using the ratio between the change in the vertical distance or the change in the vertical distance to the change in the horizontal distance. Okay, so the y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over the x sub 2 minus x sub 1. It is between 2 points in the Cartesian plane. And this numerical value that you will get after computing it will be called the slope of a line. It actually refers to the steepness of a line and it is represented by M. Okay, so always remember that a slope can be measured by finding the ratio of the change in the vertical distance and the change in the vertical or in the horizontal distance, and it is represented by letter M. The steepness of a line is referred also as the slope of a line. Okay, so these are the formula in finding the slope of the line. So again, I have told you already this one. So when we say slope or the M, it's the change in the vertical distance and the change in the horizontal distance, or simply the rise over the run. Okay, so ito po yung, it's between 2 points. Always remember that you cannot find a slope if you don't have 2 points. So, you must have first 2 points. So, 2 points of this line. So, ito yung unang point at ito yung pangalawang point. So, when we say the rise, okay, it's the rise. It's the change in the horizontal line. So, yun yung vertical line, sorry. So, ito po yun. So, it's the change between these 2 points. So, itong point na ito sa point na ito sa horizontal line. Okay? And then, so run, it's the change in the horizontal. Okay? So, ito po yun. Change nilang dalawa. So, that is what we call the rise over run. And it's the slope. So, in formula, using 2 points, using 2 points of a line, we can have the y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So, paano po ba yan gamitin? Okay? So, let's have, for example, this one. So, let's say, for example, you're asked to find the slope of a line passing through the points 2 and 3, and then 4 and 5, negative 5. So, you have a line passes through these 2 points. So, yung line ay tumama sa point na 2 and 3 at saka dun sa 4 and negative 5. Now, pinapahanap sa inyo gaano daw kahilig or yung hilig or yung slope noong iyong line. So, you can use the formula that we have had earlier. So, in using this, first, you have to identify which is the y sub 2, y sub 1, x sub 2, and x sub 1. So, when we say, pag sinabi natin na yung coordinate sub 2, okay, so y sub 2, x sub 2, we actually mean the coordinate number 2. Ito yung pangalawa. And then, pag sinabi natin coordinate sub 1 or y sub 1 and x sub 1, ito naman yung coordinate 1, yung unang nabanggit. Okay? So now, kanina, you actually identified the parts of the ordered pairs or the coordinates. Yung naunang number sa parenthesis, sa loob ng parenthesis ay tinatawag nating x value. At yung pangalawang value naman ay yun yung y value. So ito ay x, yung 2 ay x, yung y ay 3, 4 ay x, and then y ay negative 5, or negative 5 ay y. Now, sir, alin po dyan ng sub 1, sub 2? Ulitin ko, alin ang unang nabanggit? 2 and 3. So, ito yung 1. Sir, alin po yung 2? So, yung pangalawang nabanggit. Okay, now we will be able to use it. Now, so using the step 2, substitute the values of the coordinates to the formula. M, or the slope, is equal to negative 5. Y sub 2 yun. Yun. Minus y sub 1. Ano ba yung unang y? Which is 3. Over 4. Saan nanggaling yung 4? Yun yung pangalawang x. And then minus 2. Unang x. So then next, simplify. Just simplify it. So you have negative 8 over 2. So for negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then you have to reduce it to lowest term if possible. So you have m is equal to negative 4. Paano po nakuha yun? Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So that's how you find the slope of a line. Okay? Okay, so now let's go with your learning tasks in your module. So with this week, you were only given with 3 simple tasks. Okay, so always remember that in this task, okay, so in task 1 and task 2, you will be needing graphing paper since this is graphing this involves rectangular coordinate system. So starting from now on, you will be able to use, or you will be needing graphing paper in understanding this lesson. If you don't have any um, graphing paper, you may use a blank sheet of paper and you may write cross. Yun yung Cartesian coordinate plane na magsisilbi sa inyo. Okay. So, the task 1 simply is plot me. So, you just have to read the instructions carefully and use your graphing paper in answering the following. Okay. So, letter A, in a separate graphing paper, so sa isang graphing paper, plot the given points on one coordinate plane. So, yung graphing paper, magdraw ng cross, the X and the Y axis. Lagyan ng label na X, lagyan na label na Y. Huwag kalimutan sa bawat kudlit, bawat square, bawat guhit dun sa square, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So, pag meron ka na nun, gamitin mo yon to plot these points. A, B, C, D, and E. Okay po. So, para hindi kayo mahirapan kung paano yung pagpa-plot. So, pag tiklopin sa gitna ang inyong graphing paper, pati doon sa pahiga at patayo. And then, guhitan kung sakto doon sa linya. Okay, yung pinakamalapit na linya doon, yun yung gitna at doon yung isulat ng inyong Cartesian coordinate plane. Saka kayo mag-graph. Okay, ulitin, tiklop, and then tiklop. Yung pinagtag-upan, yung pinagtiklopan na pinakamalapit na linya, dun i-drawing ang inyong Cartesian coordinate plane, the axis, the X and the Y axis. Okay? So, yun yung A. Sa B naman, ito madali lamang. You just have to identify the quadrant, huwag na yung axis. You can also find the axis nga pala of the following point. Kung hindi, kung halimbawa yung point mo ay naroroon lang sa mismong guhit, axis lang yon, hindi yung quadrant. Okay? So, you have to identify the quadrant or the axis of the following point. Muna, negative 4 and negative 2. So, kung tatandaan nyo pa yung kanina, kahit hindi nyo na i-point, kahit hindi nyo na i-plot, madali na yun sa inyo. Next, 5 and 0. And then, 6 and negative 8. Negative 10 and negative 35. Nasaan kaya siya? Ipa-plot ko pa ba ito? Napakahaba naman ito. So, pwedeng hindi na. And then, 0 and negative 12. Paano kaya yun, sir? Pag may 0. So, halimbawa. Okay. So, let's say, for example, I have here yan. So, let's say, for example, I have 1 and 0. Ito yung ordered pair ko. 1 and 0. Okay, sir, ano kayang quadrant yan? So, madali, i-plot mo na. Pag mga madadali lang. So, 1. So, ano nga unang pa-plot? Yung X. So, you have move 1. And then 0. Sir, paano yun? 0. So, magmo-move ka bang pataas o pababa? Hindi po, kasi 0 nga siya. So, dito na lang yan. Nasaan quadrant ka? Wala po. Pero nasaan axis ka? Si X. Sa X-axis. So, that's how you point a line na pag may kasamang pag may kasamang 0. Kasi, for example, 0 and negative 1. Okay. So, how do you plot it? So, 0. Mag-move ba ako ng kanan kaliwa? Hindi po, kasi walang value yung X. So, pataas or pababa na lang yan. Negative 1. Baba yun. Ang isa. So, this is your negative 1. Nasa ang quadrant? Wala po. So, saang axis? Y-axis. Okay? Let's go with task 2. Meet me. Okay, so read and analyze the instructions below. Try this on your graphing paper. Okay, pwedeng doon sa likod nung kanina. Now, someone is hiding in the picture. Are you ready to meet him? Plot these points on the Cartesian plane below. Since wala tayong Cartesian plane available, yung graphing paper kanina, gamitin. Connect the points alphabetically. For example, connect A to B, B to C, and so on. Okay, so ganito yan. So you have A hanggang letter W. Okay, so napakadaming letters nun. So ipa-plot nyo siya isa-isa on your Cartesian plane na ginawa kanina. And then, let's say for example, let's say for example, ito ang iyong Cartesian plane. And then, na-plot mo halimbawa 0 and 3. So, ito yung A mo. Write A. And then, Next ay B, negative 3 and 4. So, ito yon. So, dito yon. Halimbawa, i-connect mo si A kay B. Okay? Sunod-sunod yon. Kay B, kay C, kay E, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, W. Hanggang sa ma-reveal nyo kung ano yung picture na yan. Okay? So, this is the art of plotting points on a Cartesian plane. So, always remember, pagka-plot mo yung isang point A, and then yung point B, connect mo. And then, plot mo yung C, connect mo. Plot mo yung D, connect mo ulit. E, F, G, H, I, J, K. So, connect lang siya. And then, after that, plot mo naman itong mga sumusunod. X, Y, Z, A sub 1, and then B sub 1. And then, connect mo ulit, and then, meron siyang may re-reveal sa'yo na picture. Trust me, this is exciting. Next one is easy. So, you will just answer this on your answer sheet. So, complete me. Fill in the blank with the correct word or phrase to complete each sentence. Ito ay identification type lang of what have I already discussed with you. Okay? So, yeah, that ends my discussion for the week 4 of your modular distance learning in Math 8. So, I want to congratulate you in doing great in your week 1, week 2, and week 3. I've already checked some of your papers, but not all. Okay, I'm not good at checking, so please bear with me. Okay, so I am still in the progress, but still, I congratulate you for doing a good job. And I hope to see that enthusiasm still in the weeks to come. So again, I'm Sir Arjelan Ditso, your Mathematics A teacher, and saying you have to enjoy mathematics. Goodbye.